What's up, guys? So now that the pre-production's out of the way, my next step is to get prepared for recording the drums. So to start off, I'm going to talk about my room acoustics, which heads I use and how I tune them. I'm going to go over my entire drum set, how I mic everything. Don't forget to check out my new album, The Dichotomy Paradox, and let's get started. If you're like me and you're working in a home or project studio, then chances are you don't have an amazing sounding room to capture all your stuff in. So what I chose to do was use acoustic treatment to dampen my room to the point where there really was no more room sound left. And if I need to, I can add it later on the computer. All of my songs have been written. All of my scratch tracks are recorded. My sessions are all put together. I'm finally ready to record something. The first thing I always start with is drums. I use the scratch tracks as my guide. I listen to them while I'm actually recording the drums. So to get everything started, I gotta replace the top and bottom heads. What I do is I just finger tighten the top head, and I'm gonna tune that later, but the bottom I'll use a very specific method. I like to use a drum dial and set every bottom head to 70, which is kind of a deep tone. I do a very similar thing with the snare. I'll replace the heads, finger tighten the top, but the bottom snare head I'll set to 80. The snare I used on the album was handmade by Jeremy Austin, which I'll give more info in the description. After the new heads are put on, it's time to set up the kit. Now the kit's set up, and I know the bottom heads are just where I want them, so I don't have to move the kit around to tweak those. All I gotta do is worry about the top heads. Okay, and I just tighten them enough so they're not flabby, but they're still as deep as I can get them. I actually went with a similar concept with the snare. I went for fat and deep instead of the traditional tight crack. Once I'm comfortable with the tuning, I go ahead and throw some moon gels on every tom, 2 on the snare, and I'm done. Okay, so jumping back, when I set up the mics, I set them up in the exact order I want to see them in my DAW. So I start out with overheads, and I use the ORTF stereo mic technique, which is basically 2 mics 17 centimeters apart at a 110-degree angle. Okay, after that, I raise it up about an arm and a stick length above my head, and I like to center them between the 2 outermost cymbals. Back behind my left shoulder, I'll have a mic aimed towards the hi-hat. For my kick-in mic, I like to use a lesser-known technique that involves bringing the mic about halfway into the center of the drum and aiming it 90 degrees at the shell. I'll also add a kick-out mic and place it about 4 inches away from the reso head. Next, I'll set up the snare mics just over the rim, about 2 fingers up, and I'll grab a drumstick to help angle it right towards the center of the drum. I do the exact same thing, just upside down on the bottom mic. For the octobans, I just placed a mic about a stick height up from the rim, tried to angle it down towards the center of the head. For all of the rack toms, I like to keep the mic just over the rim, but about 4 fingers away from the head. And again, I'll use a drumstick to help angle the mic towards the center of each drum. Finally, I do the exact same thing with the 2 floor toms, but I let the mic hang over the edge a few extra inches. So that's a quick look at how I like to set up my drums. But before I can actually record, I gotta get some things ready on the computer. So next time we're gonna talk about setting up tracks, setting levels, screen sharing, and recording section by section. Don't forget to subscribe and also check out my website, thoughtsofmine.com. Thanks for watching.